From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 9 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us on this Friday night. I'm Russ Riesinger. President Trump will be staying in an executive suite at a nearby military hospital, outfitted for him to continue working while he's treated for the coronavirus. CBS News confirms that the president has mild symptoms, including a low-grade fever. The First Lady also contracted the virus, and a White House doctor says she has a mild cough and headache. Deborah Alfarone is at the White House with more.
President Trump departed the White House Friday evening to go to Walter Reed National Military Medical Center after he and First Lady Melania Trump tested positive for COVID-19. Trump administration officials say he will spend several days there working and receiving treatment. The president's physician says he has been given a Regeneron antibody cocktail.
I think I'm doing very well, but we're going to make sure that things work out. The First Lady is doing very well.
The diagnosis came after one of the president's closest aides, Hope Hicks, tested positive for the virus Wednesday. That's when she began exhibiting symptoms. The chief of staff confirmed the White House had been notified of Hicks' status before the president left for a fundraiser at his New Jersey golf club Thursday.
White House operations made the assessment it was safe for the president in consultation with others.
The president's diagnosis has sidelined him from the campaign trail with only about a month left until Election Day. Meanwhile, the White House says contact tracing efforts are underway for anyone who's come in close contact with White House staff. Vice President Mike Pence's office announced he has tested negative. 2020 Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden campaigned in Michigan after he and his wife Jill also tested negative.
Sending my prayers for the health and safety of the First Lady and President of the United States. This is not a matter of politics. It's a bracing reminder to all of us that we have to take this virus seriously.
Two Biden campaign officials confirmed to CBS News they are in the process of pulling down negative ads aimed at President Trump for an undetermined amount of time. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, the White House.
Well, the White House physician says the rest of the first family, including the president's 14-year-old son Barron, have all tested negative so far. Former President Barack Obama extended his best wishes to President Trump and the First Lady during a virtual fundraiser this evening. Well, today, Montana reached more than 4,000 active COVID-19 cases across the state, with 360 new cases and 3 more deaths. One victim, a Cascade County resident, and 2 more in Roosevelt County, bringing the state's total number of deaths to 187. Yellowstone County again reporting the most new cases at 69. Gallatin County came in with 63. The number of cases reported today is the second most for a single day, following yesterday's record high of 429 new cases. The rapidly increasing number of new COVID-19 cases in Montana and Wyoming is resulting in more people requiring inpatient hospital care. Billings Clinic is now opening up additional hospital bed space as inpatient volumes surge. St. John's United is helping out by offering a 12-unit building that was vacated in March just for situations like this. Billings Clinic will use rooms at this location for less acute patients, and those being transferred there will not have COVID-19.
We've seen a tremendous surge, particularly over the last week. Yesterday, we had over 50 patients that were COVID positive that have been admitted to Billings Clinic. And it's really stretching our resources here on site at our health campus. So St. John's offered the opportunity to provide us the housing and the beds, and we're partnering with them, providing our staff to care for those patients.
On to politics now. This morning, Senator Steve Daines kicked off his Get Out the Vote campaign with his supporters at his Billings office, spreading the word that Montanans can now cast their ballots.
This is one of the biggest elections, I think, in Montana's history as it relates to who's going to serve Montana back in the United States Senate. Elections in Montana are very grassroots oriented, and I'm just so proud of so many volunteers who are here this morning who are energized. They're out there going door to door. They're making phone calls. But I remind everybody we want to stay safe as we do that.
Daines is being challenged by Montana Governor Steve Bullock. He kicks off his campaign this weekend throughout southern Montana with campaign stops in Bozeman, Livingston, Miles City, and Glendive. And early voting got underway today at Metro Park. This means registering to vote and picking up absentee ballots can only be done at the Montana Pavilion and not at the courthouse. The early move to Metro Park was made to ensure election officials and voters would have enough space to socially distance. Ballots can still be dropped off at the courthouse, just not picked up. All mail ballots will be sent out a week from today. Voting at Metro Park will continue through Election Day. Well, the first votes in Montana's general election have already been cast. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian reports on the start of the early voting period and what role national trends could play on voting in the state.
Counties across Montana have officially opened in-person early voting on Friday. In Lewis and Clark County, several dozen people have already been through to get their ballots in. Lewis and Clark County, along with 44 other counties in Montana, has switched to a mail ballot election in response to COVID-19. That means ballots will be sent out to all active registered voters next Friday. However, the governor's directive that allowed counties to use mail ballots also required that they offer an in-person voting option. Many of those voting Friday in Lewis and Clark County will be out of town when the ballots are mailed out. Election officials say mail ballots and early voting both help achieve a goal, limiting the rush of people coming in to vote on Election Day. Jeremy Johnson, an associate professor of political science at Carroll College, says he expects more Montanans than ever to vote early.
Even before COVID, we've seen in each election cycle, we see more and more people voting early. And it will almost certainly be a record number this year again, particularly with COVID, and particularly as people just get comfortable with the early voting options in Montana.
The start of voting also comes as the news that President Donald Trump tested positive for COVID-19 has dominated the national discussion. Johnson says we'll have to wait and see how this story develops in the coming weeks, but there's reason to believe it might not make much difference.
One thing about the Trump presidency, though, is just how stable polling is.
Election officials say if someone wants to vote in person before mail ballots go out next week, their mail ballots will be voided. In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
Johnson says in many states there's been evidence that Democrats are more likely to vote early while Republicans are more likely to wait until Election Day. He says that pattern could continue this year in Montana. And we want to remind you about the Montana governor's debate coming up tomorrow night, 6 p.m. right here on Q2. You can also see it on the Q2 streaming app. For the first time ever, the nation's energy czar pays a visit to Colstrip. Department of Energy Secretary Dan Brouillette touring both the Colstrip power plants and the nearby Rosebud coal mine this morning. A visit mixing policy and politics. MTN's Jay Cohn has more.
Energy Secretary Dan Brouillette, now the first head of the Department of Energy to personally pay a visit to Colstrip, and in particular the nearby Rosebud coal mine.
Thank you for coming to see us today, and please come back often.
The Rosebud mine at its peak produced 13 million tons of coal per year. Today that number has dropped to around 6 million tons.
Secretary Brouillette used his visit here to promote the Trump administration's all-of-the-above energy strategy, a strategy that includes burning coal and investing in carbon coal capture technology for the foreseeable future.
All of the above means that we're going to pursue all forms of energy here in the United States. That includes renewable energy, it includes coal, it includes nuclear power, it includes hydropower. And the reason we do that is because it provides consumers options. And when they have options, they have a competitive marketplace, they have lower prices for energy, not only here in Montana, but all across the world and all across our country.
There are many places around the world that want this Montana coal. This is a chance for us to continue to expand jobs here in Montana, as well as ensure we keep the world a safer place as well as our country.
While a focus of today's visit by the Secretary was the importance of coal jobs and new carbon capture technology, there was no timeline offered, nor any estimate on what that might cost. Also absent, any mention of global warming or potential cleanup jobs at Colstrip. The leaking coal ash ponds at the power complex requires the city to pump its drinking water from the Yellowstone River some 30 miles away. According to a 2019 study, that cleanup could take 30 years or longer and provide hundreds of jobs. Colstrip State Senator Dwayne Ankney has his doubts.
I don't know how many jobs really there is. I can come out with a report that says anything. It don't mean that's gonna happen.
Secretary Brouillette also toured the Colstrip power plants, where units 1 and 2 now sit idle after their shutdown last year. But like his tour of the coal mine, that was not open to the media. The Secretary's visit did attract the top echelon of Montana Republicans on this fall's ballot: Senator Steve Daines, Congressman Greg Gianforte, and State Auditor Matt Rosendale, all eager to be part of this photo opportunity with a member of the President's cabinet. At the Rosebud Mine in Colstrip, I'm Jay Cohn reporting for MTN News.
Westmoreland is seeking a new state permit to open up additional acres for mining that would extend the life of the Rosebud Mine another 7 years. The public comment period on the proposal ends November 23rd. Well, if you're a fan of the popular TEDx Talk series, then you'll be pleased to know that it is now in Billings. TEDx is a local gathering where TED-like talks and performances are shared in a local community. Organizers of TEDx said they wanted to showcase the ideas of people in the Billings community who may not be well known but are making a big difference locally. They said all of the speakers for this year of TEDx including the main event at the Babcock Theater, will be from Montana.
My vision for TEDx Billings is to turn this into the regional destination for TED. I'd really like to get to the point where we could sell out a venue like the Babcock or Alberta Bear Theater, some of the more historic locations we have here in town, and really have this be the location that speakers seek out to come and attend and display their skills. But more than anything, really just wanting to give the awesome people in Montana and this Billings surrounding area an opportunity to broadcast their ideas worth sharing to the worldwide audience.
Hayes says there are 3 smaller events leading up to the main event at the Babcock Theater in downtown Billings. The first one will take place this Saturday at the Post at 6:30. For more information, you can visit ktvq.com. The Little Bighorn Battlefield, a national monument, has a new visitor center in the works. The National Park Service made the announcement yesterday. The aim of the new space is to expand educational opportunities for all visitors to Little Bighorn. The new visitor center will be a state-of-the-art design and feature a large dedicated space for tribal artifacts, new displays for current collections, and even a rooftop terrace with a view of the battlefield. The Helmsley Charitable Trust is making that project possible with a $4.5 million donation. The National Park Service hopes to have that new building completed by June of 2024. Still ahead on the MTN 9 o'clock news, it may not be T-Rex, but this summer, Montana father and son stumbled upon a dino discovery unlike any other. We'll reveal their findings coming up in just a little bit. But first, Bob McGuire's in next with your full 7-day forecast. We'll be right back.